Welcome to the New Planner Podcast, where it's all about helping you successfully enter the financial planning profession and accelerate your financial planning career. This podcast will help you understand the profession, become familiar with the various career paths available to you, and avoid the mistakes that limit your success. Join your host, Caleb Brown, to explore the human side of creating a successful planning career through interviews, personal experience, and insights from the trenches. Let's get started.
Welcome to the New Planner Podcast. This is Caleb Brown, your host. I'm joined today by Jamie Clark, founder of Ruby Pebble Financial Planning, who walks us through her transition from a career in tech to joining the financial planning profession and ultimately starting her own firm. I hope you enjoy this episode with Jamie Clark. Hi, Jamie. Welcome to the New Planner Podcast.
Hi, Caleb. Great to be here.
This is going to be so fun. Ever since you agreed to do this, which I appreciate you doing that, I've been looking forward to talking with you. And I really wish you'd just start with how you became interested in financial planning, and then we can talk about how it became a career and where you are now.
Yeah. So I feel like now there's bachelor's degree programs in financial planning and all sorts of things that were just not there when I was growing up. But otherwise, I feel like I somewhat have an origin story that sounds like people who did go through a bachelor's of financial planning program. My parents, when I was a kid, they gave us an allowance that was supposed to do the discretionary spending that they were spending on us, like us budgeting for clothes and hanging out with friends and different things like that. And I have my spending tracking data back to when I was 16. And
Whoa.
When I was in college, so my undergrad is in computer science and French. And when I was an undergrad, I got tired of having a big Excel spreadsheet managing all of my finances. I first wrote an application in PHP and with a MySQL database, and then I wrote a Ruby on Rails program that I still to this day use to manage some of my personal finances. So I have all of my net worth history going back to when I was 16 and how that's evolved over time. And I started filing my own tax returns when they got too complicated for my mom to figure out what to do with that. I used her TurboTax login and did my own tax returns. And yeah, I feel like I've just always been interested in the financial side of things and trying to understand it. And, when you get a job out of college as a software engineer and now you have stock and you've never had stock before and you don't know what to do with it, I spent a lot of my free time in my 20s researching what I should be doing with my finances. What is a Roth IRA? Oh, I can contribute more to my 401k than just the match amount. Oh, should I contribute pre-tax or Roth? And some of these questions, the more experience and age I have, I realize there isn't exact answers to some of these questions like you kind of want to be when you're a 23-year-old engineer and trying to figure things out. There's so much more nuance. And I feel like that's part of what makes my job interesting now as a financial planner, but also makes it hard for consumers to figure out what to do. And I feel like I very evolved from your original question.
Oh, it's no, great. I just want to go into I get it, the computer science degree, but you coded your own budgeting and net worth tracking, your financial planning software. I love that, Jamie. That's awesome. So
it doesn't do financial planning. It just tracks the transactions and then shows the net worth progression. I've started doing the budgeting. Budgeting software is really hard to build. It's just so complicated.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You got out of school, you went into software engineering, I guess the high tech field, and got some options, had some high income, complicated situation. And then you just enjoyed it so much, you just started hey, I want to do this for other people? Or how did that evolve?
Yeah, well, there came a point where I didn't want to work in tech anymore, as happens for many people who work in tech. And I had done a really good job saving. And so I had the money to take a break and evaluate what I wanted to do. And I also had the spousal health insurance, which helped with that in this country of health insurance. Yeah, I took some time off. I thought about what I just took a break from work. I was just done with work. And then one of the pieces of advice I got was that sometimes you just don't know how long the break is going to be when you take a break from work. That like you just evaluate it and consider over time like what makes sense. And eventually I decided I did want to go back to work at some point, but I didn't want to go back to tech. And I spent some time evaluating what that might look like, talking to people who were financial planners, researching what this might look like looking at job applications, trying to figure out like what are the requirements that an employer would be looking for. And one of the ways I did that was looking at different employers near me, what they wanted from entry-level hires. And I took the Series 65 before I started any of the CFP coursework, which it was really helpful because it was a lot cheaper of a time and money investment on my part to help like get a baseline. Because I mean, I just bought like, the Kaplan Series 65 textbook and the online QBank, and that spent a few months working through that because I didn't have a bachelor's degree in finance. I didn't know the answers to many of their things. And that helped me feel like, okay, yes, I do want to go and do this. And so then I enrolled in the Dalton CFP program and went through that coursework in 2019. And I did that. Like, I don't know how people do it when they do the CFP coursework while they're working. It's a lot. Yes. And I did that over the course of a year and treated that as my full-time job and did that during the day. And I kept applying for jobs while I was working on the coursework, but looking for remote roles or looking for fee-only financial planning roles in the Seattle area. I feel like as you got further along, you were more attractive to employers, and employers would ask the question of like, well, why do you want to make so much less money doing something else? And it was definitely an interesting experience. And some of the employers that I interviewed with, I've met them later on, like at conferences and things, and they've told me that they were surprised. They were not surprised that I started my own firm eventually, because that was something they could guess from which is funny because I didn't realize that about myself until after I got the CFP marks, that was something I might want to do.
So before that, you didn't feel like you were entrepreneurial? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to work for a firm that I wanted to work with clients that I enjoyed working with and work for a firm and kind of be in that structure. I mean, my previous career, consulting wasn't the same sort of thing. Like starting your own firm wasn't the same sort of thing. So I feel like that just wasn't a path that had registered with me.
Can you, thanks for sharing that. I'm tracking with you. Can you talk about the reduction in income a little bit more? Because that's where I lose a lot of career changers. They contact me like, hey, I want to do financial planning. And then I explain to them like, okay, do you know what that looks like an entry level? And I kind of lose them from there. So can you just talk about like, hey, I knew I was going to take less money or whatever your thought process and how you navigate it? I mean, I know you worked in a lucrative high tech, but a lot of these other people that contact me have high incomes and could have been saving and doing a lot of this on their own too, but maybe they weren't and didn't have the flexibility.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something that I talk about with clients now too.
Okay.
That some people just live into the income and they're not intentional about what they're spending. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's one of those things too that like, even if financially you can afford to take that pay cut, it's still psychological. Like, yes. It's very strange, like going for like, when I was in an associate role, I made less annualized than I did as an intern in 2008 as a software engineering intern. And that's now almost 20 years ago.
Big adjustment, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to say. That's it.
Yeah, it's a huge adjustment. And it's not just the income part, but also like you have to be comfortable with not being the expert anymore. And that is really hard to do. But like as I said, I'd taken some time off. So honestly, even having like a less than software engineering intern pay was exciting and felt like a decent amount of money.
When you're going for like zero, going back up is psychologically better, right? I'm with
exactly. You. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's hard. I'm not going to lie. Like, that is a hard thing to work with.
Okay, so you took a career break for, it looks like it was about was it about 3 years or so? A little over 3 years?
Yeah, it's about 3 years.
Okay. But you were doing you were doing the CFP, some Series 65, looks like maybe some other stuff to get yourself prepared for the potential career. And then what did you do? Were you able to find a firm?
Yeah, so I ended up finding a local fee-only hourly firm that does project-based work. And I accepted the offer in January 2020
Ouch. Yeah.
and started there the last week of February 2020,
Oh, man.
which was definitely an interesting time to start in the financial planning profession, start a new career, start a new job, and all of that.
And I know we were kind of joking around and him and Han, like, how was that? I mean, that was a challenging time for everybody.
I was really glad I took the CFP exam in November 2019 and not March 2020 because I'd been hemming and hawing. My spouse and I moved and sold our old place and bought the place we're in now while I was studying for the CFP exam. Like, he packed up our apartment around me studying for the CFP exam. We didn't move because we didn't have internet. And I debated when I took the exam. I'm very glad I took it in November 2019 because the Prometric Center would have been closed in March 2020 when I would have taken it. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was just a very intense and strange time to be a new financial planning. I don't know. I feel like I don't even have words to describe it. It was in some ways like a really, like, time disappeared. And also it was a really great time for my career because I was growing in this new career that I was really enjoying at the same time. Like, that was an interesting, like, dichotomy between those two of how hard and stressful a lot of things were, and also this amazing, incredible new career that I absolutely loved.
And had you been working remotely in the tech before coronavirus? No, you were in person. Okay.
Yeah, I was in person. And the firm, we ended up going, so like I started the end of February. We ended up all going home when the governor told us to at some point in March 2020. And like before that, I'd been told the associate role was entirely in person.
Mm-hmm.
And the firm had met with some clients over the phone before, but basically everything had been in person. And so like we had like share file and stuff, but everything, so it was a huge adjustment for the firm.
And how, I mean, just because you had a prior career, I mean, you had to essentially learn how to be an associate planner virtually. I mean, what were the challenges there and how'd you overcome them?
I mean, a big challenge there was just the firm was set up for in-person collaboration. Okay. Yeah. And sorry, I feel like I don't have words for some of that experience. It just was what it was.
Well, a lot of people are lost for words for those couple of years. Well, so you managed to obviously make it through it, right? I mean, you I guess you stayed virtual, then you guys came back at some point, and then
I never went back to the office.
Never went back. Okay, so you were always virtual with that firm, and then what else did you learn there that gave you the confidence to? Because I think after this, you started your own company.
Yeah, and it wasn't until after I got the CFP marks that I had any thought of starting my own company. I feel, and I've talked to a lot of other people about this, I feel like once you have the CFP marks, there's just this huge confidence boost that you can't imagine before you like hit submit on the experience hours and it's like, you're a CFP professional. And then you get the yellow paper card in the mail and the like big certificate and it feels very different and a lot more real because when people are looking for someone, they're looking for a CFP professional. They're not looking for someone who just is a career changer and they're kind of don't know what they're doing. But yeah, I feel like that firm, I learned so much there in the 2 years that I was there, we worked with people of all ages, from people in their 20s to people in their 80s. We had families where like we worked with the parents and we helped them with their parents' finances, and then sometimes we would work with their kids. We worked with people at a variety of income and asset levels. Like we had people who were just starting their careers. We had people who were in retirement age, and we just had such a wide, like the firm were, I'm not sure how many people they work with now, but while I was there, like we worked with 400 to 500 clients a year. We had a really high client panel
Well,
size.
volume.
Yeah, we had a really high volume. And I feel like that's just such a great, when someone's asking, like, what is the ideal firm to work at early in your career? I feel like for me, a big answer is somewhere that you can learn a lot and grow a lot and figure out, like, who do you like working with? How do you want to work with people? And I feel like those are questions that are impossible. You have these ideas in your head, but just like seeing that many client situations and helping with that many client situations helps you form this understanding of the nuance that I don't feel like AI can replace. For example, like there's some amount, like the CFP exam helps you memorize all sorts of different concepts, and then actually being in the room with clients and helping other advisors go through the documents and formulate the plan and pull everything together. And then like now I have ongoing client meetings, and like we're sitting there in the meeting and we're adjusting what the strategy is in real time. And that's a skill that just takes experience to develop. We also worked with clients that worked a lot of the large companies in the area. And so I feel like that gave me a lot of understanding of like, hey, if someone is at this company, then these are things that we should be looking for. Yeah. And also sometimes like now I work with a lot more younger folks, but we worked with a lot of older folks, and you see like a lot of different careers that people have and different jobs that people have and different like there were some really cool people
That's
that I
fun.
got to talk to, like,
Yeah.
or like see like their life. Like it just, I don't know, there are people with jobs that I didn't even know existed. And it's just like, this is something that people get paid to do. That's so cool.
So it sounds like it was a pretty good fit for you. Learned a lot there, built confidence, got to see a lot. You got the CFP marks, and then you just launched your own firm after that, or maybe what went into that thought process?
You make it sound like it was just a magical, you snap your fingers and you got a firm, Caleb. Starting a firm is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it really takes a certain type of person for it to be a fit as well. And I feel like there was so much involved in that I did not know going in. And I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I'm here, but there was a lot of work. Like you have to figure out like a business plan, who you want to work with, how you want to work with people, and you have to do a bunch of that before you even have any clients, and then like how it makes sense to work with people, and filing the ADV and working with a compliance consultant to do that. That takes time. I'm in Washington State, and our regulators are very detail oriented, and it takes time to get registered. So like I quit in March 2022, and I took a month off. We just got a new puppy, and it was a little hard to have two people working full time with the tiny puppy who really needed a lot of just sitting on the steps outside in the spring. And so I spent a lot of time just reading for a month. And then May came around, I started branding work, and the ADV was filed in June. And it was October before my ADV was approved. And so I quit in March, but it wasn't until October that my ADV was approved by the state. And then I was able to launch the website and get going with things. But it was, I don't know, there were so many things. And those first clients are really foundational to figuring out like how you want to run your firm and really help shape what my service model still looks like today.
And maybe talk about that a little bit more. How did you get the first clients?
I feel like this is something that, so I am now in my late 30s, and I feel like that's an age where around a lot of people start thinking more seriously about their finances. They're not me who was thinking about in their 20s and when they were 16 and tracking things. Most people are not that person. And I've lived in Seattle for 16 years. I have a pretty wide network, having worked at larger companies. And so my first couple of clients actually came through my network and were people who had reached out to me. And I think my third client came from NAPFA. There's a huge reach for folks looking for, actually my first 10 clients, everyone either came from NAPFA or somewhere in my network of financial planners sending me people who weren't quite a right fit for them, or acquaintances of acquaintances or things like that.
And but other planners too, they would get prospective clients that they weren't a fit, they would refer them to you. Great job on building out the network and reaching out. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. That I definitely feel like it's something that I always tell people to do. If you're ever feeling stuck in your firm, or not even stuck, just it's helpful to have a network outside of your firm. And I feel like that's something that's interesting too about this more virtual world, is that I have financial planning connections across the US. And so if someone's looking for a more local person or something, I can probably direct them to someone who is closer to them. Or like every time when I have someone who isn't quite the right fit for me, I'm sending them referrals of several other people who I think could be a better fit.
And maybe talk a little bit more about your business. So one of these, I'm a new client, I sign up, or one, you have a specialty niche, so you may not take me. So who are you
I
looking
probably
to
wouldn't take you, Caleb. Sorry.
Who are you looking for, and then how do you serve them? How about that?
So I primarily work with folks in their 30s, 40s, maybe early 50s. My plan is to age with my clients, and I'm a little older than I was 4 years ago. But generally people with non-traditional goals. So most of my clients are generally either child-free, not married, or not partnered, some combination of the above. Most of my clients are either identify as LGBTQ or allies, and really just people. And also, one of my big boundaries is that both partners need to be engaged in the financial planning if your finances are together, which in a community property state like Washington, unless you have a prenup or a postnuptial agreement, your finances are together regardless of whose name is on the accounts. And some people don't like that, and that's okay, because I have many clients who really like that. And I've had a number of clients working together for several years, and there's a lot more financial literacy when both partners are coming to the meetings.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that and sticking to your guns. I learned that lesson early on in my early 20s. Somebody came, and the husband in this case, hey, I'm the one that deals with the money. My wife, I'm like, sorry, I know you have $4 million and we just got started and we would love the fee, but we can't work with you. I mean, that was tough. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I'm with you. I believe in that philosophy pretty strongly. Okay. So is it a assets under management, planning, hourly, project model? How do you work?
Yeah, so I start everyone off with an initial financial plan, and I bill hourly for basically all of my services. And that's part of why I do the initial plan structure. I do half up front and then half after the last plan meeting. Those usually take 3 to 4 months, depending on the client, to work through. And pricing varies from $4,000 on the very low end up to $10,000 for the initial plan, and I bill at $400 an hour. So, and those are I've been doing this for 4 years now. I've signed 60 initial plan clients, and I have good data on what that looks like.
Of course you do. You're a computer science major.
Oh, we can even talk about all of the automations that I've done to make my life easier in my business, Caleb.
Well, in all seriousness, I mean, so is it a sole practitioner? I mean, do you have anybody? It's you doing all the work. So maybe just talk to us briefly about all the stuff you've set up to help you serve these clients.
Yeah, my business primarily runs on my time tracking software that auto drafts my invoices every quarter for my ongoing clients. It helps give me the data of how much I should be charging clients. I have automation set up so when someone schedules an intro meeting, they get created in my CRM. DocuSign drafts an agreement for them. A Google Drive folder gets created. The quote worksheet gets copied, and a variety of other tasks within those softwares. And when someone signs a new initial plan agreement, the DocuSign gets auto-copied into Google Drive. The projects get created in the time tracking software. The stuff gets items get updated in Wealthbox. A bunch of all the new initial plan files get copied within Google Drive from the templates. And one of my goals has been to not need to hire a human to do work that I can automate. So like when my software sends invoices, I always CC myself, and I have Gmail, it auto adds a label to those for invoices. And then I have an automation that watches for new emails under that label. It saves that invoice, the attachment of the invoice PDF to Google Drive, renames the file, and copies it to the client's invoices folder.
That's amazing. I mean, for a non-tech person, I'm just looking like, this is so cool. I mean, like really so cool. One click of a button, all this stuff happens. Really neat.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're doing, because you've been at it about 4 years now, the new firm, been at it 4 years. Anything you wish you'd done differently, or any like sort of gotcha moments that you want to maybe point out to somebody else that might be considering this?
Believe in yourself is a really big piece. Believe in yourself and believe in your value. And I feel like the CFP coursework is all really great on the technical side. I ended up going through Nancy Noel's genuine sales class when I was a couple years into running the firm. I feel like I had a good foundation in sales, but having more, like going through sales school, I feel like people go into financial planning and feel only financial planning thinking we're not salespeople, but we are. And you can't run a business without feeling confident in your value and the services that you provide to clients and being able to sell that service. Like I'm essentially selling my time to folks.
Yep.
And I have to be confident in what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. And the sales part, I feel like, is a big key to that a lot of people kind of sweep under the rug and just try to avoid. But you also, like, it's a business. And I feel like a lot of people, like, we have all this time and all this setup, and that helps like see the business as a separate entity from yourself. But I feel like that's something that I've done a good job of from the beginning, is the business is its own entity and has its own cash flow and its own structure, and it's not just an extension of me.
Love it. Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe you mentioned this. I just didn't catch it. So how many clients do you have, the ongoing clients? Is there a target that you try to bring on every month? I mean, do some people drop off, or do they kind of stay with you indefinitely?
I feel like it really depends on the client. I have some clients that have been with me for a while, and I can tell they'll be with me for a while yet.
Yeah.
I don't require investment management. I actually bill hourly for most of my investment management in addition to financial planning. I feel like financial planning is the really important part and why people come to me, and that's part of why I lead with it. So substantially, I don't charge percentage of AUM fees. I charge flat fees or hourly fees for clients. I have about 25 ongoing clients at the moment, and I feel like I'm starting to find that sometimes you might have tried to push ongoing on someone when it wasn't quite the right fit, and just sticking to it's really hard to setting boundaries and picking the right people and being true to yourself. I feel like that's just like a constant exercise in running a business.
Yeah, scope creep. Everybody deals with that, right? Like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do a little of this. I'm like, no, stick to your guns.
Well, especially hourly, when you're ultimately just billing for your time, you have to be really careful with the scope creep. And that's why I don't
Yeah.
give firm estimates for ongoing anymore. I just bill hourly for whatever time I do each quarter.
That's great. Is there any kind of minimum in there too? So you kind of are protected on the bottom, on the lower end?
There's technically no minimum, but if I'm not providing the level of service that I want to be providing and feel like the client needs, then that's not ultimately a long-term
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, congrats on building a nice business that you have and walking us through sort of the ins and outs, and glad to know you and glad to have you in the profession, and you're out there doing great work for people. Anything else you'd like to share before we close out?
You're never too old to change careers. It's never too late to do something different. Like, we don't need to be stuck into whatever we decide to do when we're 18, when we went off to university. Like, life is long, and I feel like there's so many transferable skills. Like, my computer science degree is very helpful for building some of the operational side of my firm. And I don't know. I feel like it's just, don't wait. Like, figure out what you want and do it if you can.
Absolutely. Agree completely. Jamie, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Caleb. Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the New Planner Podcast. If you're ready to discover the top career paths for financial planners and see which track is best for you, we created a free guide to help you. Grab your copy of the Financial Planner Career Roadmap at newplannerrecruiting.com/roadmap. There, you'll also find more tools and resources, all created to help you build a successful financial planning career. Tune back in next week for another episode, and until then, we're here to help you succeed.